Hi, I'm Sonia Gavankar. Today we have two founders of Al-Mubadarah, the Arab Empowerment Initiative. Our first guest is Victor Shibli, the founder and publisher of the newspaper Washington Diplomat. He is a successful businessman and entrepreneur who specializes in the international arena. Hazami Barmada is our next guest. She was named in 2008 the Muslim Leader of Tomorrow by the American Society for Muslim Advancement. And she is the public and cultural diplomacy professional and executive director of the Iraqi Orphan Initiative. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Hazami, I want to start with you. When President Obama made his speech in Cairo, he pledged to build businesses and social ties with the Muslim world. Was this the genesis of the Arab Empowerment Initiative?
No, the Arab Empowerment Initiative was actually the brainchild of Victor and I, and it spun from our desire and interest to figure out a way to re-engage both personally on a personal level, but then also professionally back into the Arab world. So we had met on a few occasions at various events around the Washington, D.C. area and began speaking about what empowerment of the Arab community would look like on a professional platform. Our dialogues turned into actually founding the organization because we felt that since we do have the resources, the capability, and the capacity of actually doing something, if we sat muted, then we were in essence perpetuating the problem, and we're part of the problem. So we came together and started the Arab Empowerment Initiative, which is now a global platform for Arab engagement. And what we aim to do is engage the diaspora community and figure out ways to constructively engage professionals all over the globe in figuring out how we can reinvest into the Arab world and aid on development in the region.
And what is the mission of Al-Mubadarah?
The mission of Al-Mubadarah is international development into the Arab world, community development and professional development. We aim to create sustainable models for reinvestment of Arabs into the community. The Arab community is all over the world, and we're very diverse. We are engaged in all different levels, different socioeconomic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds. And we want to find a way to tap into the human potential and professional potential of the Arab community, who in essence feels tied to the Arab world, goes back to the Arab world, a lot of which has family in the Arab world. And figuring out ways that we constructively give these people an opportunity to actually become a part of positive change to create a healthier and more viable society in the Arab world. We were really able to tap into the human capacity for this. We want to inspire, to raise awareness, to really instill a sense of hope in the community by empowering people who have the capacity and capability to actually do something, to stand up and do something.
Let's talk about the diversity, Victor. Tell me about the diverse cultures that make up the Arab community.
First, you have to define the Arab diaspora. Here in the United States, we have probably more than 3.5 million Arab Americans here. Of them all, 40% are college educated as opposed to American society where it's 24%. 17% have postgraduate degrees. Average American is about 9%. So these are highly educated people. You go beyond the United States. Brazil has 9 million Arabs living in Brazil. Most of them come from Lebanon. That's double the population of Lebanon. So the capacity outside the Middle East or the Arab world is much larger sometimes than what's in the Arab world. It's not unusual to hear of presidents in Argentina, Ecuador, and El Salvador that have Arab heritage. In Europe, UK, over 1 million Arabs living in the United Kingdom, in Africa, in Australia. So they're all over the world, highly capable. We have people in politics, in business, entrepreneurs, in the medical field and the sciences. So we want to bring these people together and tap into their resources, whether it's financial or professional resources. These are the people that are most empathetic to the problems in the Middle East, and they're frustrated. They're frustrated with the lack of opportunity, the lack of hope in the communities, the poverty, the disparity between the have and the have-nots. So our goal was to unite the community, to create an infrastructure that's sustainable, to give them vision and leadership to help people back home. Basically, Arabs helping Arabs back home, not just Arabs, but people that are interested in the future of the Arab community, helping the Arabs back home.
Well, that's, I think, what we hear a lot about with other cultures. I'm Indian American. We always hear about Indians, especially in America, doing something to give back to the Indian diaspora. Is that essentially what you're trying to empower people to do?
Essentially, yes. What we aim to do is to address several issues that are plaguing the community, brain drain being one of them. A growing socioeconomic divide, what is seen to many as the rich getting richer at the expense of the poor, but then also growing educational gaps, growing linguistic divides. There are 22 Arab countries, as Victor alluded to the diversity within our community. I mean, we have to acknowledge and recognize that there is not one face to what an Arab community looks like, not in the Middle East and not outside of the Middle East. And with that said, what we want to do is to really highlight and showcase the diversity of our community and the talents of our community. And in doing so, we will not necessarily just create avenues to talk about it, but we will actually translate our talking into action. We are very much an action-based network and an action-based organization. And what we're trying to do is to inspire individual people on a personal capacity to say, I can be a part of the progress. I can be a part of the solution. And not only can be, but I must be in order to create a viable, healthy community, which my identity is related to. So as an Arab, what we're doing is tapping into what being an Arab means. What does a hope for the Arab world look like? What does a vision, collective vision of a healthier, viable community look like to individuals on a personal capacity? We're tapping into that hope and then hopefully encouraging these people to say, yeah, I can and I must and I will sacrifice or give up a year or so of my life to reinvest or make a financial contribution of some sorts to allow and to help this network to really flourish. I mean,
how much of that is to go home to where your family is from, or is it something that you can do from your new home or where you're currently working anywhere internationally, especially in the United States?
What we're trying to do is to actually encourage people to go back home. Now, for people that do not have the capacity, there are a lot of other ways to get engaged with our work. We are planning on doing forums and workshops and that sort of thing around the world. But what we really aim to do is to plug people back into the Arab world. The models that we're looking at are similar to Indicor and Teach for America. And what that does, it really takes the upper echelons of society and says it is your duty as part of an active member of society to reinvest into your society. And you do that through capacity. So what we're doing is taking these professionals, a doctor, a very successful doctor, an Arab doctor in America, for example, and we're plugging that same doctor into a medical facility that may not be well-to-do, doesn't have an infrastructure, maybe cannot retain doctors due to the brain drain, due to the political situations or whatever the situations are within that area, and we are encouraging them to go and reinvest into that region. Now, what that does is it will build a cultural and community bond in the place that they are placed, but also it will help elevate the level and the standards of the hospital that they are placed in, while also encouraging and stimulating a desire for education and betterment of the conditions for the people that are in the situation. So it's in essence really strengthening a community. The core of it really is built in strengthening the community, but also providing better opportunities, and sustainability, I think, is the key part of our work. We don't plan on just creating something that's going to go away within a year or two. And I think if you look at the Arab world, that is something that you definitely notice is projects are very short-lived. There are a lot of visionary people that are very empowered but don't have avenues to really facilitate their work or really execute their dreams and visions in the region. So we're not trying to recreate the wheel. We're not trying to retrain people. What we're doing is taking people who are already very active and successful in whatever field it is and find ways to kind of piece them into a puzzle, which will then hopefully work on expanding and developing the same infrastructure in the Arab world. So again, it's really kind of shifting pieces of the global Arab community together and piecing the puzzle together in the Arab world in a way that is not only sustainable, but that is beneficial not only to the people that are coming in from the outside, but also the people on the ground.
Victor, in April, Al-Mubadarah launched their program after President Obama's summit on entrepreneurship. How did that event come about?
The State Department called us and asked us if we would organize a community event for the Presidential Summit on Entrepreneurship. We, at the time, were talking about a new initiative. We didn't have a name. We didn't have a logo. We didn't have a staff. We didn't have a budget.
But you had a dream.
And we had a dream, and we had 3.5 weeks, which wasn't much. So we thought about it, and it really fit in with our goals and our vision that wasn't defined yet. And we went ahead and said, let's do this. Let's put together lunch. We had 3.5 weeks. In that time, we fast-tracked our mission statements and fine-tuned them, came up with a logo, a name. And we went out to the community, and we got the community to help us. We built a lot of partnerships within the community, put on a luncheon, a pretty good program. I think by all accounts it was a big success.
Some of you know me as a publisher of the Washington Diplomat newspaper, but today I'm one of the founders. I have the pleasure of being one of the founders of the Arab Empowerment Initiative, and this is really a welcome surprise. Two people thought of a little idea. We moved and then with some action. We expected maybe a small crowd here. This is really overwhelming.